This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so we are talking about OOPS concepts from the Python programming language. So now let's talk about OOPS. See, OOPS are very important in Python programming language. Okay, the reason is that OOPS is something like it's a logic. Sorry. So if you want to be create the OOPS, so if every programming language, it may have some kind of features. Okay, the features are data hiding. So if you want to be hide some information, so that we will do with the help of the OOPS concepts, or else whatever the data which is hidden, that we can able to encapsulate, okay, with the help of the OOPS concepts only. Sometimes you can override with the different methods. Methods means it's a function only. Method overriding, method overloading. Okay, next one is method overriding, polymorphism, okay, and inheritance. So these are the features. If any programming language is follows, then that particular programming language, we are calling it say OOPS, object oriented programming language. Okay, so these features Python is following, so that the Python is also object oriented programming language. Python is having the below features, so that we can call Python is the, okay, object oriented programming language. Clear? Yes. So if you want to be follow these features, if any programming language, that programming language, it must have the two components. Those components we're calling it same OOPS component. Okay, the first one is the class, and the second one is the object. The first one is the class and second one is the object. See, Class is the logical entity. Logical entity. So object is the physical entity. So what is mean that physical entity and logical entity? So logical entity in the sense we can defining the structure but not created it. Okay, we just have the structure or else skeleton. Okay, it doesn't have the body. Okay, it's a soul, nothing but. Okay, it's a structure of anything. And when you're creating the structure but you're not building anything, so that a particular situation, it doesn't require the memory, so it's not need any memory to create the class. But when you're creating the object, the time which is available, okay, physical entity which is created with help of the class only. So when you're creating the object with help of the class, that particular situation, it's required the memory. So with help of the classes only, we can create the objects, but creating of objects, we require the memory, but creating of the classes, we don't require the memory. Okay. So when you want to be creating the class in Python, we should have the syntax for it. So class and followed by the name of the class name. So we can use any name as class and open parenthesis and close it parenthesis. Inside of that one, we can write a lot of attributes. Okay, here the attributes can be variables or functions, whatever it is. So you can defining the functions and variables inside of the class, that particular situation which is not able to, it's not able to create any kind of memory. But when you creating object, then it can be do that. This is the way you can able to go for creating the class. But how we can able to creating the object? The object syntax is you can use any name. So that name you can use object name object one, and with help of the same class name. So for this particular class, I want to creating the object, that you can do it. So with the same class name, I want to create the one more object. If you want to creating the one more object, that also we will do it. If you want to create the one more object with help of the same class, that we will do with help of the same class. So which means with help of the single class, we can creating the multiple objects. With single class, we can create multiple objects. Is it clear?
Yes.
Just note this information.
Noted.
Just note this.
Yes. Done.
Okay. Let's go for creating the small class. Okay.
Yeah.
And the name of the class is, for example, Rama Rupali. Let me creating the class name is Rupali. Okay. So inside of it, I'm giving the name is Anjan. Okay. And subject. Just you are creating the some variables inside of the class. Okay. So if I execute this one, you are just creating the class. I want to create the objects, or else, yeah, you can use any name. Okay, in the object one, you can use any name. So unfortunately, I'm using the same object one only. If you want to be creating the object one, you will do it. So if you want to go for creating one more object with help of the same Rupali, you can do it actually. Okay.
Yeah.
So this time you are executed, you are not getting any kind of output. My intention is that I want to be access this data with help of this particular objects, which means after you creating, I want to be go for accessing the object one dot, if you want to access the name, so object one dot, the attribute name we should provide you, object name and attribute name. Okay, if you want to use the class attributes. In the same way, I would like to go for object one dot subject. So if you do this one, you're getting the same output or not? What we're returning, what we're writing inside of the class. Next one is you can execute, you can access the both objects information. This time also same information is there, right? The reason is that you created in a class, and inside of the class you are fixing some data. So default data is Onion and Python only, so that which can be accessing once you creating the multiple objects. Okay, just execute this one. I will explain you in a different example.
Okay, done.
Okay, now what I will do here, I want to be updated. Okay, so after you printing, my intention is I want to change my object one information. So instead of the engine, I want to use some different name. So that particular situation we can directly assigning the some new data after you're accessing. Okay, so Kumar, object one dot subject is for example ds. By the time after your modification is done, is it possible, is it a way, is it any original data can be modified, or only object in one information is modified? Only object one information is modified, object two information is remains constant. Okay, so initially object one and object two information can be the same, but after you modifying the object one, it's not affected for the object two. The reason is that object one is a different memory space, object two is different memory space, but in unfortunately by the time of creation both objects are having the same information, but after some time if you modifying the object one is not reflected for the object two. Clear?
Yes.
So note this example.
Yes, noted. Done.
I would like to go for creating the methods inside of the classes. I would like to go for creating the methods inside of the classes. Okay, you are defining the name and subject, right? So I would like to define the functions inside of the class. So you can create any name. So I'm giving the name of the function is access. So this time I want to be print the of anything, any objects. Okay, so I want to print only name and subject. So you are printing the name and subject inside of the class, right? So that you can def access and print name and subject. This time you simply call the object one dot access function, and meanwhile object two dot access function we can use it. After you modifying the object information, and same thing you can execute it, you will be getting same output of the previous one, but unfortunately you will get an error. Okay, the error is access one takes one position augment, one has given here, which means this is the function, it can takes only one or zero number of arguments, but unfortunately by the time of calling which is taking the one argument, which means whatever the object you are giving, that it can be input for this particular access function, so that we can use the any one of the name. So which means the self is you can give any name, but usually the people can give that as a self, the self which is holding the, if you're calling access function with object one, this object will be holding into the self. So if you want to access the name and subject, then we can use the self dot. We can use the self dot. Okay. This time if I execute it, we'll be getting the same output of my previous one. Clear?
Yes.
Execute this one.
Yes, done.
So instead of modifying this information, I can creating the another class, sorry, another function. Modify is my function name. You can use any name actually, but you know what? If you're defining the function inside of the class, you should use at least one argument, and make sure that whatever you are modifying it, so make sure that the first argument you have to provide as the object. Okay.
Okay.
This time you can take it input from the user also. Enter name. So you don't know what could be the input can be given by the user, right? So that you can take the data by the time of execution. Okay. So for example, if you want to be modify the object 1 and if you want to modify the object 2, both we can do with the help of the same method. Okay. See, initially the data is printing. After that one, you're trying to modifying the object 1 information. Object 1 is Anjan and Python, right? Now I can give the data is, so Kumar is my name and subject is data science. Now, so object 2 is, for example, Rupali and subject is machine learning. So now we can see the data is modified or not in both, because of you are trying to modifying the both objects information. So this is the way you can creating the attributes and you can creating the methods inside of the classes. Okay. Yeah, execute this particular information.
Okay, done.
Okay. Yeah. So some situations I want to send the data from the function call. Okay. I want to send the modify the data is I want to send it here itself. Are you getting my point?
Yes.
So name and subject, I want to take it input from the not from the user, from the class only, from the method calling only I want to give it. Okay. Then this particular situation, what you will do by the time of calling the modify, make sure that you have to provide the data. Okay. So Kumar and for example data science, object 2 is Rupali and subject is for example ML. See, this is the way also you can providing the data. It can be modified the original name and subject only. Okay. The reason is that you are assigning the self dot name, right? So automatically the object name and subject can be changes. So this is the way you can able to send the data from the method calling to method definition. Note this example.
Yes, noted.
Okay. Just try to understand this particular class till here. Okay. Tomorrow we will see some other examples of the class only. We'll continue the class object oriented programming language by tomorrow also. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Bye. Take care.